Well, welcome to Face the Facts. I'm Nick Face, and we have a lot to dissect here tonight. We should be a little, what's the word? Disappointed?
Yeah.
Maybe something like that?
For those of you who were taping this show the evening after the Lester signing came down. Lester going to the Cubs, 6 years, $155 million with an option for a 7th year.
Right.
Up to close to $170 million.
It's kind of difficult to open up a show and say kind of welcome, but we do need to discuss what happened. So Kevin Vent is joining us once again here this evening. Again, I'm Nick Face, and we're going to be talking a little bit about what happened. Kind of looking back towards the spring of last year for the Red Sox and kind of mapping out really what the game plan is here.
Yeah.
Because I think the game plan just got completely thrown off last night.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Lester, the first thing that happened here is that he got an offer he couldn't refuse.
Yes, absolutely.
From the Cubs. Theo Epstein and the Cubs, throw 155 or 170, depending on the number of years.
Yep.
$1 million at him, and how do you say no if you're Jon Lester? Unless the Red Sox came through with something somewhat comparable. I even heard there's flights on a private jet included, and I mean, there's all sorts of stuff in this deal. But how do you say no if you're Jon Lester?
Well, I know one of the things that was debating Jon Lester back and forth is he's a man that wants comfort. Mm-hmm. He likes to be in situations that he feels he's going to succeed the most in, as we all kind of should be. Mm-hmm. The Red Sox and the Cubs, they're very similar in organizational structure. We have Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer and Jason, somebody else in the front office over there. McLeod. They used to work with the Red Sox.
Right.
Many people are familiar with all
And I would
that.
think Lester would have some comfort with them. I mean, they were the ones that were there when he went through his cancer and kind of stuck by him and all that. So I'm sure there's a sense of trust that Lester has in that group.
Now, what I also look at for the Cubs is that organization hasn't won a World Series in over 100 years now.
Yes.
I'm leading to believe that Lester really wants to be one of those pitchers or players that gets a chance to break that big old goat curse out there.
I was thinking about that, he wants to be the Curt Schilling of the Chicago Cubs. Curt Schilling comes here in 2004, wins the World Series, and he's forever a hero in New England.
Right.
And Lester could be that guy if the Cubs were to, in the next year or two, next year, year after, whatever, and he's seen as a difference maker, he could be that guy in Chicago.
He could be. The thoughts to it. I want to look at the Chicago perspective right now. Mm-hmm. I think they're ecstatic right now. I think they've had a wonderful offseason. Mm-hmm. They got a great catcher yesterday, too, to go along with Jon Lester. They got their Plan B starter, Jason Hamill, back on Monday.
Yep.
And it didn't really start off on a good note for them because they wanted Russell Martin on that team. They did.
Yeah.
But it looks like pieces are starting to fall together for this organization that will probably bring some life back in Chicagoland.
I think it'll certainly bring some life. I'm not sure it's going to bring as many wins as they're going to need to win a World Series.
And we're going to discuss that in just a little bit, too.
But I think, and there's something to be said for life, obviously, and something to be said for being in the mix every year, which is always kind of fun. But there are still some quality teams in the National League that you have to get through. And they put together a decent pitching staff there in Chicago. But as long as the LA Dodgers are out there with that gigantic pitching staff,
it's like, how do you get through that?
How do you get through that? How do you get through the Giants now? Giants still a very good team out there. Washington Nationals are going to be in play this year, also in the National League, and so just a lot of good teams to try to get through. You always have the Cardinals, of course, and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a good
don't
team
discount
still.
the Giants.
Yeah,
you can't discount that with the Giants.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that they still have a legit edge here.
Absolutely,
because they still have a good majority of their pitching staff together, and Mr. Sportsman of the Year, Madison Bumgarner is right there in the mix of things.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of good teams in the National League, so it's going to be tough for the Cubs to break through. But you would have said the same thing in 2004 about the Red Sox. There was a lot of good teams to break through, and they were able to do it. So,
well, here's the thing that I think needs to be discussed first of all, and is that Jon Lester was paid like an ace.
Yes.
6 years, 7 years, $155 million.
Yeah, 6 years, 155 with a seventh possibly for 170.
With the seventh, and he also got a $20 million signing bonus attached to that.
Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but we'll worry about that another day.
You can understand the Red Sox strategy in not wanting to give him the major bucks to pay like an ace, but I think we need to discuss this first. And the question is Jon Lester an ace?
I think Jon Lester is a postseason ace.
Okay.
Regular
is there a
season,
difference?
I think regular season he's a number one.
Okay.
Or but is he that step up to the plate stopper ace? I mean he was in 2013 for the Red Sox.
Sure.
So and he did great in Oakland this year, and he's a proven postseason performer. So you don't think of him the way you do Scherzer and Kershaw and some of these other guys, but he's in that class. He had a great season last year.
Yes, he did have a great season. However, it seems like he was paid for one season.
Yeah.
If you think about it and you want to debate it, I am in the Lester camp. I wanted Lester back.
Sure.
But obviously there was a price to pay. I had a limit, and I said over 150 is probably not something that the Red Sox should do.
Right.
You got to look at his career a little bit. Are we not remembering 2012?
Yeah.
Are we not remembering the chicken and beer fiasco that he was a part of?
Completely fell apart.
Are we also not thinking about the longevity of this contract? Yeah. What if that cancer happens to come back to him?
Yeah.
What if a health scare happens to him?
There's
a lot of ifs.
Just any pitcher in general. I mean, he's going to be 31 in like 2 weeks or something like that. So at the end of the contract, he'll be after the end of the 6 years, he'll be 37,
right?
Or the 7th year, he'll be 38, and he'll be paying a 38-year-old pitcher that kind of money.
Right.
It just doesn't seem the length of the contract. I think is something that would push the Red Sox off. Also, I think the Red Sox would have paid possibly 150, but only for 5 years or something like that, or 130 for 5 years or something like that. I think that that's what they did. They did 135. So those contracts for this day and age seem reasonable. I think the Cubs, and this sounds strange, but I think the Cubs needed it more than the Red Sox did.
Absolutely. I mean, they're the team that hasn't won anything in over 100 years.
Over 100 years.
And Theo Epstein, it was brought in to work magic.
Yep.
He was responsible for the Red Sox winning the World Series in 2004, and he was even there in 2007 and everything there. So the Cubs want him in there to kind of rectify and kind of copy the model that the Red Sox have
had. And I think that's what the Cubs are looking for him to do. And that's basically what they've done is they've built up their farm system, bring in a couple of high-priced free agents to kind of bring the thing together. That's exactly what the 2004 Red Sox were, an amalgamation of good homegrown talent and a few free agents.
Right.
And that's what they've done in Chicago. And so I think that's what they're counting on,
Now, speaking of the model of the Red Sox, it looks like the Band of Brothers model may be coming back together for the 2015 year for the Cubs.
Yeah.
The reason I'm saying that is that David Ross and Johnny Gomes are in mutual discussions with the Cubs right now about joining their team.
Right.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
I would miss David Ross.
Okay.
I would really hope the Red Sox would make a serious offer. I know he's only a backup, but he's just such a great clubhouse presence. He's an excellent catcher. We have essentially a rookie catcher right now for the Red Sox and Vasquez, and he needs someone to teach him how to handle a pitching staff. I think he's very good at it, but I think David Ross can solidify that for the Red Sox. I would hate to see him go. Johnny Gomes, I could care less about.
Right.
Wherever
Gomes goes,
he wins.
It's remarkable.
But
he's been on he started with the Rays and he went to the Reds.
Yep.
After that, he went to the A's again, and then he went to the Red Sox and just finds his way of winning.
He is a guy that he is a guy that has the tendency to come up with the big hit when you need it.
Right.
And that, and that's great. But he's just a utility guy.
That's all he is.
I don't think that's a big deal.
And I would be shocked if he doesn't end up back with the Cubs over there.
Could be over with the Cubs. Could be back with
they're in
Oakland
discussions
again.
with it now, and they need an outfielder to supplement a few things over there. So he may be with Lester again. That copycat. It's like his shadow. Now, Red Sox expectations. There's a lot of fans right now that are pretty upset. Yeah. Pretty upset. I wouldn't be in the ballpark of being upset towards Jon Lester.
Right.
I think fans need to understand a couple things that went into play. So I want to discuss that a little bit. And first of all, with the expectation, what's next?
Well, I mean, we said in the last show, you asked me what I wanted for Christmas, and I said I wanted 2 pitchers.
Right.
I haven't changed. What do I want for Christmas? I want 2 pitchers.
Yep.
I know the Sox have offered...
Wade Miley, good for you?
Well, the Sox have offered a contract to Justin Masterson.
Okay, yep.
I think Justin Masterson could be an excellent number 2 for this team.
Yep.
He's not a number 1.
Okay.
So, they still need a number 1, whether it's going to be... Cole Hamels, or whether they're going to try to get a Scherzer, or maybe they're going to try to work a deal. But to get any top of the line starter, is going to require them to get rid of some of their good talent.
They don't want to do that.
They don't want to do that.
They do not.
We said before, if they could sign a number 1 as a free agent and then trade for a number 2, that could possibly work.
And that's
if they end up signing a number 2, then you have to trade for a number 1, and I don't see that happening.
That is where Lester was so needed for them, but obviously for the price that they wanted.
Yeah.
Lester was not going to cost a draft pick to sign.
Right.
And he wasn't going to he's already accustomed to the whole situation in Boston.
Sure.
So there's people that would come in now that have to figure it out.
I think if they could trade for him, I think Cole Hamels could fit on this team well.
Okay.
He's used to playing in a hostile environment in Philadelphia. These are the people that booed Santa Claus. So he's used to that kind of environment. I think he could fit into an environment like Boston, but the Phillies are going to want a lot for him, and of course. With Scherzer, I don't know if the Sox are willing to pay the price. The rumor was going around today, $200 million for Scherzer.
If they don't want to pay Lester,
he's older than Lester.
If they don't want to pay Lester, they're not going to pay Scherzer.
They're not going to pay Scherzer. And so who else is out there? James Shields, but I'm not a big James Shields fan. I
mark my words.
He had a great season, but
he's going to be in the Red Sox.
You think so?
And it's a desperation move.
Well, I don't.
Desperation.
Unfortunately,
I think the Red Sox were upset that Lester didn't come back and take the
unfortunately, I don't disagree with you.
Yep. I don't want James Shields.
I don't want James Shields either.
But I think that they have to act upon losing somebody that was beloved in Boston and that was an anchor of that rotation.
Yeah.
Cole Hamels is going to cost you
a lot.
It's going to gut your farm.
Yep, I agree.
Going to gut it.
Especially with how the Phillies organization has gone down over the last couple of years. They're looking for young talent to bring a little life. And they've got a lot of big contracts on that team that, Ryan Howard and so forth that they can't get rid of. So they need some young talent to fill in holes that don't cost a lot of money. So that's what they're looking for. And I just don't see the Red Sox giving that much away.
Now, you also hear about the Reds. They have 3 pitchers over there that are pretty much quality arms. You have Johnny Cueto, Mike Leake, and Matt Latos.
Yeah.
All names that could potentially bring you something.
But are they number 1s?
No, I don't think so.
I agree. I don't think they're number 1s.
Especially National League style pitcher.
Yeah.
If it was an American League and they were already solidified as a number 1, I would say no-brainer.
Yeah.
But these are risky moves.
Yeah.
The other names that you hear, another team, the Padres have 3 pitchers over there. That's a low environment over there. They may pitch in front of 5,000 fans if they're lucky on a night.
I think they have a few more than 5,000, but your point is well made.
There's another team that could potentially have something to deal with. Another team we hear is the Tigers, which I think the Red Sox should jump on. I think Porcello or Price, they could potentially get them in some kind of package.
And I think Price is a number 1.
Okay.
Potential number 1. I think the Tigers will only trade him, though, if they are able to re-sign Scherzer.
Yes.
Because then they'll have Verlander and Scherzer. And Price can pitch in the American League East. We know that. You always go with a left-hander because lefties are always of value.
Right.
And I do think Price is the stuff to be a number 1. So that's a possibility. But again, anyone you trade for, you're going to have to give a lot away.
You are going to have to give a lot away. For Porcello, it looks like it would be Cespedes involved and Ruby De La Rosa, I'm hearing, or a pitcher like that.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'd do that. I don't know if I'd do that.
I would do that for Price. I'm not sure I'd do that for Porcello.
I don't think I'd do it for Porcello. For Price, I would.
Yeah.
But maybe we're overvaluing Cespedes here, too. I mean, one of his biggest flaws is he doesn't get on base that much.
Right. He does not.
And that's what's holding a lot of teams back from signing him.
Yeah.
Right now, there's a lot of discussion at these. The winter meetings are going on in San Diego.
Right.
In case some of our viewers at home don't know what's going on, the Dodgers have Matt Kemp available. Mm-hmm. The Braves have Justin Upton available,
yep.
And the Red Sox have Cespedes available right now.
Right.
There's also the Phillies that have Marlon Byrd and another couple players that are kind of interchangeable parts. They're kind of all equal on certain ends. There's a lot of rolling the dice that has to come about certain things. Well, Lester seemed like it was the first big dice to roll.
Yeah.
Once that he got signed, it seems like many more pieces will fall out of the puzzle, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Because it seems like everything's been a waiting game. And nobody really knows what the heck they're doing.
I think
they're waiting for everybody.
I think Cespedes fits in well on a team that has another power hitter that he can complement, like he does David Ortiz.
Right.
If you're looking for him to be the only guy on your team, I don't think he's suited for that because he just doesn't see enough quality pitches and he just doesn't get on base enough. But so one of those teams that has another thumper like Detroit, who have Victor Martinez and who have
Miguel Cabrera.
And
they also have another Martinez, too, that just came up. J.D. Martinez.
Yeah, so I mean, they have some thump in that lineup already. Cespedes could be a nice complement in that lineup. He would fit well in that kind of lineup.
Right.
But some of those other teams, the Dodgers, again, he might be able to fit well into a Dodgers lineup where you've got some hitters there already.
But the thing that you look at with the Dodgers, they have an outfield problem,
they already have an outfield
problem.
They
have 4 outfielders. The Red Sox have $20 million.
Of all those guys you said, probably the best player in that group is Matt Kemp.
Right.
But he's unbelievably injury prone. And is someone really going to roll the dice? Is a Red Sox style team or whoever going to roll the dice? Or anybody? Is anybody going to roll the dice on a Matt Kemp who is?
I think right now the talk is that the Padres would, but then the Dodgers look at it this way: why trade in the division?
No, they're not going to trade him in the division.
It's dumb.
No, they're not going to trade him in the division. I wonder if there's a trade out there possibly for Matt Kemp, for instance, to someone like Tampa Bay. Who don't really have anybody left except for what's his name at third base, Longoria, and always seem to have a rich farm system.
Yep.
And would they take a chance at a Matt Kemp? I think a team like that would take a chance at a Matt Kemp, but a lot of the other teams won't because of the injury thing. They don't want to, and the gigantic contract.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I
think he has 6 years left on the deal.
Yeah, the Dodgers have so many huge contracts out there that they're just not going to want anyway. All those guys are very tough to trade. Cespedes, in some ways, is the best of them because he doesn't have the giant contract.
Right. He's got nothing really left in his deal.
I think 1 year left in the deal.
1 year, that's it.
And
then he
comparatively
goes to free
small
agents.
money.
Yep.
So I mean, that makes him attractive to teams because they don't have to invest if he
what
out.
I would see Cespedes dealing with the Red Sox, I would see them dealing a 1 year left on a contract pitcher. Getting that in return.
Sure.
That way it's a compliment.
Yeah.
Back and forth. That way each team is kind of getting what they need.
Yeah.
Something like that. I do want to jump back with the Lester thing for a second because we didn't really hit upon some things that I think that we need to about management from the team. I think, like we said, if anybody's upset with Lester going to the Cubs, you really shouldn't be.
No.
You shouldn't be. Because Lester wanted to go to the situation where he felt was best for him.
And in terms of the money, there isn't a single one of us that wouldn't take more money to do the same job someplace else.
And we've discussed that
We've discussed that before. So to be upset with him, I don't think is right. The question is what did the Red Sox do or not do that they should have done? Now,
I have one person in particular, and we've discussed his name off air many times, and I feel that he's very, very responsible for this. And I don't think it's Ben Cherington. I don't. I don't think he gets free rein to do what he wants to do for his job.
Okay.
I think he basically is tied to his desk and said, if you don't do this, then you're out, something like that. I think Lucchino is 100% responsible for this move. Hold on.
Yeah.
Jacoby Ellsbury not being back.
Uh-huh.
Pedro Martinez back in the day, not being back when he went to the Mets.
Which you have to say is probably wasn't necessarily a bad move.
No, it was
Pedro
not
Martinez.
a bad move. Johnny Damon.
Just to be fair.
Yankees, absolutely. Absolutely. Derek Lowe, and the list can go on. What do you think about that?
I think Lucchino has a lot to say with the purse strings. I don't think he does talent evaluation. So I think Cherington is involved with talent evaluation, and basically Lucchino says, fine, but you can't spend any more than X. So for instance, with this deal, I think the number was from Lucchino.
Sure.
You want Jon Lester, great.
Lucchino or Henry?
I think it's Lucchino.
I think it's Lucchino myself.
I think Henry pretty much signs the checks and lets Lucchino run the organization, which he should. Yep. That's what an owner should do.
Well, we have heard John Henry say Larry runs the Red Sox.
Larry runs the Red Sox,
which is a sickening thought if you're a Red Sox fan.
But I mean, I think Larry Lucchino runs the business operation of the Red Sox.
Does a
Ben
great
Cherington
job at
does the talent evaluation.
Right.
So Ben Cherington goes out and says, we want these guys. Yeah. Lucchino says, fine, you want this guy? This is how much you can spend on him. So with Jon Lester, I think Cherington goes to Lucchino and says, we really want to bring Jon Lester back. Lucchino says, great, 135. You can't spend any more. And so he controls the purse strings. So if that's enough, great. With Pablo Sandoval, whatever the Red Sox top number was, we don't know but that was enough, and he comes. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. As we said, was he responsible for Pedro Martinez not coming back? Probably, because he controls the purse strings, but that wasn't necessarily a wrong choice. Pedro wasn't the same guy after 2004. In fact, you could even see in 2004, he wasn't the same guy.
Right.
He was still very effective, but he wasn't the same guy. So I don't think the Red Sox made a bad choice there in not bringing him back. Derek Lowe, he had a couple of good seasons after that. Could the Red Sox have brought him back? Possibly, but they chose to go a different direction. But I think that
Matt Clement direction.
Matt Clement.
I can't believe we just brought that name back into play.
I thought we had heard the last of Matt Clement, but apparently not. Apparently we have to keep bringing him up again and again and again.
But all these names come back and you look at it and you say, you know what? Boy, it would be different if certain things were another way.
But, if you're going to blame him for the people he didn't bring back, you also have to give him credit for the ones he does.
Sure.
For instance, Mike Lowell.
Yes.
Everybody wanted to bring Mike Lowell back, and they did. Now, did they win another championship? No, but
But
everybody wanted it.
I want to discuss that Mike Lowell for a second. I don't think Larry Lucchino thought he was going to come back because Lowell took the discount. The Phillies, or I forget who the other, I think it was the Phillies.
I think it was the Phillies,
The Phillies gave him a better contract.
And Lowell took the discount.
Maybe it wasn't the Giants. Somebody else did too. But he ended up coming back.
Yeah.
And I think that probably shocked more than anything him.
Yeah. So, but I mean, the point is,
I understand your point.
Is you have to give him the credit for the things when they've continued.
I'm not, but you can.
Well, they've continued to bring back David Ortiz.
They have.
And
maybe he's just afraid of the big man. I don't know. He could be.
But I think that overall, that's been a positive thing for the Red Sox. That they've continued to do that, and they've, despite the every couple of years him griping, they've actually been pretty smart about it. These 1 to 2 year deals, they bring him back and string him along, and so that they're not going to overpay him and they're not going to pay him for 12 years when he's not going to be any good anymore. So so you got to give him credit for the good ones, as well as for the ones that got away. So,
well, I just look at it from yesterday, and I see that contract offer they gave him back in spring. I think that the deal was done.
A lot of people point to that.
Deal was done then. Lester over-doubled his money.
Yeah, see, I disagree that the deal was done then.
You don't think it was? Okay.
No, because if the Red Sox had offered him $170 in 6 years, he would have taken it, regardless of what happened in the spring. I think the mistake the Red Sox made in the spring was lowballing it, because they could have signed him in the spring for 120 or so,
right?
And they didn't. So if he had taken the 135, they just blew $15 million over 6 years.
Now, Sherrington had an interesting statement that he said, it was either today or yesterday. I think it was today. And he said that he wished he had a chance to negotiate more with Lester during the season.
Yeah.
And Lester continued to say, I don't want to negotiate during the season.
Right.
Okay, well, try.
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
I don't know how much that would have hurt if you did that.
I realize it was a Theo Epstein thing, but generally the Red Sox have not done contract negotiations during the season.
No, they haven't.
As a general rule of thumb. And so I don't know if that makes Lester uncomfortable doing contract negotiations while he's working and pitching.
I don't know.
Or it's maybe he did have his nose out of joint from the low ball offer in the spring. I don't know. There's no way for us to know, and Jon Lester's never going to tell us.
Yep.
But I so what do I think about the spring? I think if they had offered him 120, he'd be a Red Sox today. Do I think that the low ball offer affected this offer? No, because if the Red Sox had blown him away with an offer, he'd be back, and his nose wouldn't be out of joint at all. So
I definitely agree with that.
It's all about the money.
I agree with that.
At the end of the day,
they say
it's not about the money,
but
it's always about the money.
Yep.
Now, it doesn't mean that some guys like Mike Lowell, and we've seen it over the years, Joe Mauer in Minnesota.
Yep. Derek Jeter with the Yankees.
There are guys who take less money to stay where they are.
They do.
But at the end of the day, if someone blows them away with an offer, they always go for it.
It's almost like saying to yourself, how can you turn it down?
You can't. How could you?
You can't.
How could you?
But Lester did turn down, apparently, a 7-year, $170 million deal from the Giants. Now, people may say, well, that's another $20. Yeah, quite a difference. $20 million difference. Right. But you know what? It's not. You know why? State income tax out in California is about 13%, I've heard. And that is a major difference between Boston and Chicago's, who's a lot less.
Yeah.
So instead of having to pay $10 million on taxes, whatever the heck it would be, it made more sense for him to have a higher estimated value on a West Coast team, and the lower income or the lower amounted teams would be on the East Coast.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way, and
I know players do look at that. That's one of the reasons why Toronto has always had a difficulty, because the income tax in Canada is gigantic.
It is.
And so I know that's always hurt Toronto in terms of attracting.
Right.
Doesn't mean they haven't gotten guys. They certainly have. But it's always been something that has hurt them a little bit, because they have to overpay for players because of the income tax rate in Canada as opposed to in the United States. So I can see that being a difference if the income tax, if the state income tax is that high in California, and in Illinois it's much lower.
Sure.
It ends up being about the same, and it's a better situation. So
absolutely. And the last thing with Lester, I think that he wanted to go where he felt, again, the most comfortable. And Chicago and the Red Sox made him feel most comfortable.
Yep.
There was, though, a thought that I had last night. And the thought was, with Jon Lester, we heard a lot of noise coming out yesterday that he had called the Giants and said that they were out of the mix.
Right.
He did the same with the Dodgers.
Right.
And he didn't say anything about the Red Sox or the Cubs.
Right.
What was your overall impression of that? I don't know if you heard the report from before you went to bed.
I did hear the report before I went to bed that the Giants and the Dodgers were out.
I was shocked that the Giants were out, I have to tell you.
I wasn't, because I don't think Lester enjoyed his time out on the West Coast.
Okay.
He was there for half a season
Yep.
out in Oakland. He got to know the area a little bit. He'd be living in the same area if he had gone to the Giants.
Yep.
I don't think he particularly liked it out there. I don't think it fit his style. I don't think it fit his mojo.
You know why I felt it was weird? And I agree with you on that. And he grew up out there on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And maybe something along those lines just wasn't comfortable with him about that.
He lives his year-round home, I believe, is in Texas.
Yep.
Or Louisiana or someplace.
Texas, and he's in Georgia now. He has a house in Georgia,
He's got a big ranch in Texas.
There's a ranch in Texas, and then there was a house in Newton.
Yeah.
And that's obviously long gone.
Yeah, well, I think it's been on the market for a while.
Yeah.
So that's just my impression, that he wasn't happy about getting traded out there, didn't particularly care for the area of the San Francisco, Oakland, Bay Area. And but again, if that had been the best.
He must not have liked the area, because when you get turned down by, basically he has two of his best friends over there with the Giants, and one of them being Tim Hudson, and the other was, I guess he was very friendly with Buster Posey, and a couple other people over there. And Jake Peavy, that was the other one. And it looked like Peavy's going to be going back to the Giants.
Yeah, it looks like Peavy's going back to the Giants, yeah.
I was pretty shocked at that, because I thought that had the best chance for Lester to get back to the World Series and carry on his legacy.
Yeah, I do think, however...
And I was shocked at that.
With the legacy piece, though, they've won 3 of the last 5. He goes there, they win another one. He's not going to get credit for that.
No.
He went to a good team and they won a World Series.
Yeah.
I do think if he came back to Boston, that legacy piece helps. If they come back and they win another World Series, he would have won 3 World Series here in Boston. That would be pretty impressive and be a major part of all 3 of them, and the ace of 2 of them.
Yeah.
And the ace of 2 of them. It'd be Brady and Ortiz. That's
exactly.
that's who he'd be. Larry Bird.
Yeah.
I mean,
Bobby Orr, all them. Yep.
Bobby Orr. all these guys won these
multiple.
Only 2. Yeah, only 2
amazing.
for Bobby Orr, which
true.
you always forget. Yeah. But he'd be Vince Wilfork. No.
He would be.
When if he goes to the Giants, he's just another guy.
Right.
And they've got Lincecum.
They have the guys there.
They've got the guys there, and they just won it this year. So they go back and they win it next year.
I wasn't looking at that from that perspective. I wasn't.
I think the legacy piece, Chicago, L.A. Though again in L.A., he may be the piece that puts him over, but they've already got Kershaw, and they've got
and Greinke and all them.
So
what's he going to be, number 3? I think he wanted to be the ace.
I think he wanted to be the ace, and he's certainly not going to be the ace in L.A. He might have been the number 2.
Certainly was paid like the ace, so why not?
So he wanted to be the ace, and I think Chicago and Boston is the places that he had interest where he was going to be the ace. I'm not even convinced he would have been the ace in San Francisco. I don't think he would have been.
I don't think he would have been either. I think it's Bumgarner or even Matt Cain if he came back over there.
I think it's Matt Cain. I think Matt Cain is the ace.
Yeah.
In San Francisco. So and even then, you have Lincecum, who's won a couple of Cy Youngs and all that. I mean, he's not the ace in San Francisco. I think in Chicago, Boston, he's the ace.
Yeah.
He chose the one that gave him more money.
Case closed.
Case closed.
So that chapter has sailed. We need to slam the book shut, put it back on the shelf. It's now history.
It is history.
And speaking of that, we also want to discuss some other history that was made during the MLB meetings this week. And Chicago had been the big home of certain things.
Yeah.
The White Sox also shocked a lot of people with some other big news too. I'm not sure if you were familiar with those.
I'm not sure. So.
Jeff Samardzija was traded over to the
sure.
White Sox,
Yep.
and David Robertson, the closer
Yep.
from the Yankees, is now with the White Sox.
The Samardzija one surprised me.
That did to me too.
That kind of came out of nowhere. I hadn't heard anything about that,
Yep.
and you would have thought that that's someone who the Red Sox would have been interested
Exactly.
in. But I don't know whether they just weren't aware or Oakland.
Well,
didn't
Samardzija
want,
apparently he grew up in the Chicago area where the
Sure.
White Sox are, so I think that he wanted to go home.
Yeah.
Basically there. And I think that he has the best chance of signing an extension with them, too.
Yeah, I think so, too, yeah.
But what an amazing story about the White Sox. We go from, Chris Sale's available, and
Right.
Alexi Ramirez, come and get them.
Yeah.
And then they go and get LaRoche. They have Jose Abreu, the big bat there.
Well, you got to think.
They have a team now.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've got to do something to challenge Detroit in that division. And
Which is open for business, that division right now.
That division is open for business, I agree.
Yep.
There's a bunch of good teams in that. I mean, Cleveland is a pretty good team.
Yep.
And
they just had a move this week, Brandon Moss.
Even Minnesota is a pretty decent team.
Yep. Torrey Hunter went back to them.
Torrey Hunter's back from
over
Detroit.
there.
So I mean, there's
how can you forget the Royals?
The Royals, of course, yeah.
That's another one that's like...
So I mean that's a good division, and the White Sox, if they're going to try to compete in that division, I think that
I do think that the biggest shocker so far, and it's scaring me, is the Yankees. They really haven't done anything besides take Andrew Miller.
Yeah, which
is like what? He's
not exactly the New York.
They're going to make him the closer.
And the thing is who's left? Scherzer.
They have Della Petan too, the other one.
Are they going to make a play for Scherzer? I mean,
I don't think they have the money to. I think that they are so capped out with A-Rod and CC Sabathia and Teixeira and all this crap.
It's a strange year where the Yankees do nothing.
Yeah,
they've done nothing.
I don't think they can. I think that they have to work on. See, this is why I think Robertson's not back. I think they need the prospects because they've dealt them away.
Right.
They don't have anything. That's an organization that I think is going to.
You think Brian Cashman loses his job?
This may be the year.
This might be the
year. This may be the year. But I don't think that they can really blame him for that because look at the money.
Yeah.
You have to have some sort of limit.
Well, he's the guy who went out and spent all the money on all those guys.
He is, but he had to have permission to do it too.
That's true.
So maybe the Steinbrenners.
It's very. I mean, granted, you're dealing with a new Steinbrenner regime there, but it is very un-Yankee-like not to go after somebody big. It
certainly is.
I mean, to be honest with you, Sandoval would have been an interesting choice to go to New York.
He would have been.
They have A-Rod.
They don't even want to pay Chase Edley.
Yeah.
They don't want to pay him.
So I mean, what about Hanley Ramirez could have gone to New York too? I mean, there's all sorts of people that could have gone to New York, and nobody. They've done nothing.
I just hope that we can make sense of the Sandoval and Ramirez deal by the start of spring training.
Ichiro was a free agent.
He's a free agent too.
So they haven't re-signed Ichiro.
Nope.
I don't know what they're doing over there.
I don't know what they're doing. They don't, and they just traded for Didi Gregorius. For their shortstop. Woo-hoo.
Stop the presses.
Yeah, he's their shortstop. Derek Jeter, here he comes.
Usually the Yankees make a big splash every year.
I don't
Last
think
year was Jacoby Ellsbury.
Yep.
And of course we've just went through the list of guys over the past number of years, and for them to do nothing is very, very bizarre.
It is.
Unless they really think, and I wouldn't necessarily blame them for this, if they really think the division is still for the taking because no one else has really improved themselves a whole lot.
The only thing you can look at is Toronto, but they need to prove themselves and win a playoff.
Toronto
to get to the playoffs.
Toronto, really the best team in the division is Baltimore. You have to say, and Baltimore. I don't think the Yankees are afraid of Baltimore, and so
I love the moves that Toronto's done so far.
Maybe New York thinks, if A-Rod is anything, if Teixeira can come back, if CC is something good, we've got what it takes to win the division now.
The one thing I like that Toronto did was they got Donaldson from the A's, and that's the player that I would have loved to see with the Red Sox.
Sure.
But again, that's a prospect thing. The Red Sox are so hung up on these prospects.
They love their prospects, and they're so afraid.
And then they come up and they don't do anything.
You know what I think it is? I think it's the Jeff Bagwell syndrome. They're so afraid to get rid of their prospects for fear one of them is going to become Jeff Bagwell.
Yep.
If you remember in '80, drawing a blank. Was it?
Or becomes Hanley Ramirez, and look what happens. They re-sign him.
Yeah, So
think of that,
So I don't think they knew what they were doing when they traded Hanley Ramirez. I don't think that bothers them because they remember that bought them a World Series.
It did.
Beckett and Lowell.
But remember, Theo didn't do that move.
No, Theo didn't do that move. No.
That was Larry.
Larry
the Lush.
Yeah. but And that's what they were trying to do when they traded Bagwell way back in the day. They're trying to win a World Series. They traded for Larry Anderson, who was a top-of-flight reliever. But I think that one kind of bit them a little bit because Bagwell went on to have a Hall of Fame.
So it's almost
career.
like a safety net. They're trying to.
And I think they're afraid, they're a little gun-shy to get rid of some of those prospects for fear one of them becomes the next big thing.
I just think it's so difficult for a prospect if you're in the Red Sox system to come up and produce. It's like a lottery ticket.
And even some some of those guys in Oakland, like Brandon Moss.
Yeah.
Of course, not there now. And who's the other outfielder?
I don't think Brandon Moss or Josh Reddick or all those guys that they have could have produced on the Boston stage.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I just don't. I don't think that I think it's a different environment when you play at Fenway Park.
Yeah.
It is. And I think the fans get on players very quickly. We know that.
You think that's what's happening with Jackie Bradley Jr.?
Yes, I do. Yeah. I think Jackie Bradley would actually exceed expectations in another environment. Like with the Astros. I think he'd be a superstar over there.
Yeah. Problem is the Astros don't have anybody we want.
No, they don't.
The problem with Jackie Bradley Jr. is he doesn't have any trade value. He's a good,
if you want a bag of balls, it's the guy to get.
Not just a good, he's a superior defensive player.
Superior.
Possibly the best center fielder defensively we've ever seen here, and that's going all the way back to Don DiMaggio. Possibly the best, possibly the best defensive center fielder we've ever seen. But if you can't hit, you can't hit. I mean, that's just
nope.
It's the end. That's the whole ball game.
So it's really been an exciting, unpredictable. Wow, offseason for baseball right now.
And particularly the Red Sox. I mean, what you can't say is the Red Sox have been active in the offseason. There have been years where not a lot has happened.
Sitting here a year ago and saying the Red Sox would have Sandoval and Ramirez and no Lester.
And no Lester.
Not on my radar. Not on my radar screen.
Yeah. The thing that worries me is that we're going to go into the season and all our hope is pinned on Clay Buchholz. And Clay Buchholz.
What's that song? Hey, Mrs. Robinson, we hold your something like that. FCCs will come after us for music clearance.
We don't want to do that. But Buchholz was the best pitcher in baseball before he got injured in 2013.
Yep.
And but has not been the same since he came back from that injury. Was not the same in that postseason. Was not the same last year. And I don't know if it's
never be the same again.
I don't know if it's in his head or I don't know if it's an injury.
I think he's a mental case, and it's sad to say that. I think things have to be perfect for him for an environment, and if anything's thrown off, whether he has a hangnail, whether he has a bad haircut, whether he slept on the pillow the wrong way.
If it's the haircut thing, he's in trouble because he always has a horrible haircut.
Yeah, he always does. Whether he slept on the pillow the wrong way, whether he, picked up, if he has a kid, maybe if he picked his kid up and put him on his shoulder. Forget it. He's not pitching. He's on the disabled list for a month.
Yeah.
He is so fragile.
Yeah, he's very fragile.
It's crazy.
But anyway, that's my fear is that we're looking at Buchholz.
It's a big fear.
Are we going to end up with Buchholz as our 1 and Joe Kelly as our number 2 and Dubront is okay, but he's a 4 or 5.
If the Cubs want to give him back, Dubront.
Yeah.
Because I think Dubront went to the Cubs last year, didn't he? Yeah, he did.
Oh, he did. You're right.
He's on the Cubs. So
we don't even have him anymore.
We're looking at Alan Webster and Ruby De La Rosa, Brandon Workman, Anthony Ronaldo.
And all these are interesting guys, but none of them have proven anything.
I tell you, they're going to sell big tickets with that staff.
Yeah.
Big tickets. So they better get on the phone quickly and figure out.
So mark my words, opening day starter could be
Felix Dubront. We want him back.
Could be Clay Buchholz.
Theo, you take Lester all you want, but we want Felix back. Felix the cat.
Anyway.
Speaking of changing subjects, we need to talk about the Patriots very quickly because that was a worm burner of a game, to say the least, on Sunday night. It was a game where, at least in my thoughts, I was scared. I didn't think that they might pull this one out. But they did.
Certainly in the first half. They looked very sketchy in the first half. They couldn't really move the ball. I don't understand some of the play decisions that were called, particularly that first drive. We talked about it off the air.
Sure.
They basically ran the ball the entire field. They got to the 1-yard line and had 3 consecutive passes. I don't understand that. Why not try to pound it in there for the touchdown? I think if they score a touchdown on that first drive,
different outcome of the game?
Well, not a different outcome. I think the Patriots win.
Sure.
but I think it sets the stage for that first half.
Yeah.
The defense was outstanding. They only allowed 1 scoring drive the entire game against a very good offense in San Diego.
Yep.
In San Diego, not in Gillette. In San Diego, where the weather was perfect, and so the defense just was outstanding the entire game.
Who stood out the most on defense? Because I couldn't figure it out.
You know who has stood out the most? I mean, maybe not just in that game, but when we talked about the 6-game stretch. Chicago, Denver, the Colts, Detroit,
the 5-1
Green
stretch.
Bay, and the 5-1 stretch, where I said a couple months ago, if they went 3-3, we'd be okay. If they went 4-2, we'd be ecstatic. They went 5-1. You know who has been the defensive standout that entire stretch? Darrelle Revis.
Okay.
The return of Revis Island.
Yep.
The fact that they don't even throw in his direction. They don't even throw over there.
Don't trust him.
They it's stunning.
So
even
do you think that
even the game they lost,
Yeah.
there was only the one pass to Jordy Nelson, and
Right.
that was it. And then granted it was a big play, but I mean, even in the game they lost, he completely shuts down the half of the field. It's unbelievable. I have never seen a corner like that.
Is he that much of a shutdown corner?
I think he is.
Yeah.
I think he is.
Okay.
I think they try. I mean, they
What
only
do you think?
passed-
Just
they
teams are
only-
too afraid to
they
throw to
only
him, which is
passed
fine.
his direction twice in that, or I think 3 times in the
Yeah.
game on Sunday, and there was one catch for like 5 yards, and that was it against him. I mean, it's just so it allows them to double team the other guy. What they've done is they've put him on the number 2 receiver, and they've double teamed the number 1. So
Good strategy.
It's a great strategy because it's really, I mean, it completely stonewalled Megatron,
That's right.
And Demaryius Thomas,
Yep.
and T.Y. Hilton, and all these big name receivers that they
They
played.
get thrown through a loop.
Brandon Marshall.
I didn't realize that's what they were doing.
That's
They
what
were
they're
double
doing.
teaming the ones and then leaving Revis with the
They're
twos.
putting Browner. They're putting Browner. They're putting
okay.
Browner and whoever is the safety help in the back.
Logan Ryan or McCourty.
or McCourty or
Yeah.
whoever's on that side against the number 1.
So that's why
putting
Revis isn't
Revis-
getting interceptions and things.
Yeah,
because they're not testing.
they're not passing that direction. So that at the
okay.
end of the day, someone like Ty Law had gaudy numbers for interceptions, and he was a great corner for us. Don't get me wrong, but they still pass in his direction. Revis doesn't get the gaudy numbers because they never pass over there. But that's what the Patriots have done during this stretch.
Sure.
And that has made all the difference in the world. So that's a long answer to a short question, but he's my number 1.
No, that's a good explanation. I didn't realize that that's what the master plan is. So here's my question.
Over the 6-game stretch, they've done it in almost all. Not every. I can't say every play, but in every game, their general.
You're the
strategy has been
Dolphins.
that. I'm the Dolphins.
You're the head coach, Regis, whatever his name is, Regis Philbin. I don't care. Who wants to be a millionaire?
It's not the guy with the sunglasses
No.
anymore, right, Tony?
It's not Tony Sperano.
Tony Sperano.
But do you go into the game and just throw everybody through a curveball and just test Revis? What do you get to lose?
I think that's the game.
The game.
I think that's a losing strategy.
You think it's a losing strategy?
Tannehill's strength is the short to mid-range pass.
Yeah.
What the Patriots have to do on Sunday against Miami is shut down that short and mid-range pass. Tannehill can't pass the long one.
Okay.
I think you let him with the guys one-on-one, Browner and Revis one-on-one in their deep threats on the outside. Push everybody else back in the middle, the safeties, the linebackers, and basically force Miami to beat you with the running game. Now, Belichick will probably do completely the opposite thing because
Of course he will.
but
We'll see Brandon Bolden get the runs on.
Because the Patriots have had some night games and that kind of thing mixed in here. We've seen Miami a couple of times in our local package over these last several weeks.
Yep.
And if you watch it, they don't even attempt these over 20-yard passes. No. It's dink and dunk the entire way, and it's mid-range. And Tannehill's good, and he's fast, and he's got a bullet of an arm, but they don't do these long plays. I think it's because they don't have the receivers to be able to do it. So
they have one, and that's Mike Wallace. That's it.
Yeah, and Mike Wallace has been virtually a non-factor this season.
Yeah, really does. He gets up 6-7 points if you're a fantasy player, things like that. Nothing spectacular.
Nothing spectacular. He'll get a couple of catches, for 20, 30 yards. Doesn't score any touchdowns.
Nope.
Because they just don't. Tannehill just can't throw the ball accurately deep, I think is what it is. So, I think that's what I would do. I would force Miami to beat you with the running game.
Miami doesn't have a chance on Sunday then, in your opinion?
In a shirt and hat game?
Okay.
No.
They want those shirt and hats, don't they?
Yep. The Patriots mark those shirt and hat games.
Big time.
What we mean by that is games where they win a division or they win a title of some kind.
Sure.
So you're talking about the Eastern Division title. You're
those
talking
are very
about
important.
The conference championship. You're talking about those kind of things are games where you get shirts and hats.
Yep.
And the Patriots can clinch the division.
Mr. Big
this Sunday.
gets his money.
The Patriots actually could clinch a first-round bye this weekend.
They could.
But 500 things have to happen. They have to win, and then there's like the Colts and the Broncos and the Steelers and someone else all have to lose. That's not going to happen.
No.
So that's probably not likely to happen. But they theoretically could happen this weekend.
Do you see the Patriots getting that home field advantage, number one seed? You do.
If they win out, they have the number one seed, and they're playing the three divisional games: Miami, Buffalo, and the Jets, or Miami, Jets, and the Buffalo. And I think they win all three of those games. Two of them are home games. Miami and Buffalo are at home.
You may see
and the Jets, the worst team in the NFL, practically, are the only away game.
You may see with that Bills game, a chance to see some of the guys like Garoppolo even play.
It's possible.
It is possible.
The thing is they're going to want to win that. I think the number one seed is still going to be up for grabs in that game because they have a 1-game lead on. They basically have 1 game in hand on the Broncos. They and the Broncos have the same record. But they beat the Broncos, so they need to maintain the same record. So unless the Broncos lose between
now, who do the Broncos play Sunday? Do we know? Maybe somebody in the back can tell us who the Broncos play on Sunday. But that's important to know.
But anyway, I see the Patriots winning out and getting the number one seed. I do. 13-3.
I would hope to see it. I mean, I think that I remember the first show we did of the season in September, and we were 2-1 or 1-2, wherever we were. 2-2, I think it was.
2-2, yeah.
And we were like, is Brady done?
Right.
Is this team done? What's going to happen this year? Right. And we're at a stage here where we could get the.
I still think they're the best.
Shocking.
They're the best team in the AFC in my opinion.
They completely turned their season around.
Yeah. And
many people didn't think that was possible.
Yeah. Well, what they did is they did two things. We talked about it way back then, and it's still been true now. Is they solidified the offensive line in terms of how they play the offensive line. They basically said, "This is what we're doing, and that's it." Instead of moving everything around, which in the first 4 games, and they switched to this defensive model.
Yep.
With they were playing a lot of zone defense in those first couple of games, and I think putting Revis 1-on-1 and Varner 1-on-1, 2-on-1, or whatever, and that whole thing, that solidified all of that for them. I also think they made some key acquisitions. I think Akeem Ayers has been a find.
Yeah, he's been
a find. Oh my goodness, how could the Titans let this guy go?
Yep.
I don't get it.
That's why they're the Titans. Yeah.
But anyway, he's been excellent. And I think. I'm trying to blank. Jamie Collins has stepped up huge.
Jamie Collins has really filled in nicely. Even Dante Hightower.
Dante Hightower has played
He was out last week, but again, his replacement comes in and boom.
Yeah. And I think Dante Hightower will be back, if not this game, definitely for the
Jets. He'll be back next game.
Jets game. So I mean, with the loss of Mayo, you were going, oh no, here we go again. But the linebacking core has shown a lot of good depth this year.
Don't discount Vince Wilfork. He might have lost a step, but guess what? He's been out there every single game.
Yep.
He's given him his all, and he's been a staple.
I'll tell you what happens with Vince. I believe he has lost a step. I don't think he's the guy he was before the injury. But it usually takes a year to come back from that kind of injury also. The Achilles. Anything doing with the knee or the ankles, like that, and kind of tendon, it always takes a year to come back. But he still commands a double team on every single play he's
always does.
And so that opens up for other guys. That opens up. In fact, you saw it on Sunday, a couple of those blitzes. Jamie Collins, a couple of those blitzes up the middle. You know why they happened? Because Vince Wilfork commands two guys.
Yes, he does.
I mean, it's all that's why that's
big component.
That's why more than any other sport, football is a team sport.
Yep.
You have one guy who commands two, and that means somebody's unblocked.
That's a little thing that certain fans or certain people may not look at, but they need to and understand the appreciation of what he can do in that system.
Yeah.
Now, I also think that this guy, it's crazy with figuring out who the running back of the week is going to be. You have Jonas Gray.
Jonas Gray gets the cover of Sports Illustrated and gets 4 carries over the next 3 games.
You have Blount signed, or Blunt, whatever you call his name, and then Bolden magically comes into the fold when a game.
Did you see that block punt on Sunday?
I was just going to discuss that. I was just going to say this is why he is still a part of this team.
Yeah.
His value is incredible.
Yeah.
Because of what he can add to special teams. It's not just about running.
Yeah, and he's made a couple of special teams plays this
season.
That
play, I thought that was the turning point of it all.
Yeah,
on certain levels.
It really was. It really that and the
got the team jump started.
The interception by Ayers also. Those two.
Yeah, that were big.
Remember they had the play where it looked like McCourty intercepted and ran for a touchdown.
Right.
And then it got turned back because of the hit, which was not in my opinion, not an illegal hit.
No. We didn't discuss that.
But anyway, they come back. They would have been very easy for them to get down, but Ayers comes back with the interception on that play, and the Chargers. Then the Patriots, I don't think they scored. They did score on that drive, and then the Chargers came back and had to punt, and the block punt, but the block punt was it was the other way around. The block punt came first.
Punt was just something
Those
that
two
was,
plays were the turning points of the game. The block punt
just a lot of things went right there.
Yeah.
A lot of things went right there. Now, I want to stay in the NFL just for a second. I just want to hear a couple of your expectations for some of the other teams that we have going on right now. We know there was a quarterback controversy in Cleveland for a while with Hoyer and Manziel.
I can't believe the media has spent so much time on this.
It's sickening.
They're in love with Johnny Manziel.
For what?
I don't know
for
why.
what?
I don't know why.
I mean, they interrupted something on ESPN today. I think it was some kind of press conference with a player. Oh, Johnny Manziel press conference.
Yeah, they're absolutely in love with Johnny Manziel, and I do not know why.
I don't root for players to not do well in certain things, but I kind of want the momentum just to come back to earth.
It would be great for the NFL for the Browns to make the playoffs.
It would be.
So I want him to be successful because I would love for the Browns to make the playoffs. It would be great for the NFL for that to happen. Cleveland has had the run through, really since the now Ravens left.
Yep.
They haven't had a good team since then, and it's a great football city.
It is.
And so I think it would be great for the NFL for them to make the playoffs. So I want him to do well for that reason. I'm sad for Brian Hoyer. I think Brian Hoyer has given it his best effort there.
He has.
And has done well at points in the season.
Yep. So unfortunately, it looks like he's going to take a seat to Manziel, and we'll see what happens with that. There's a big game Sunday night, and that's with the Cowboys and the Eagles.
Cowboys and the Eagles.
Now, we know Romo's been injured.
By the way, very entertaining Thanksgiving Day game, that Cowboys and Eagles game, round one. I don't know if you watched that, but it was a very entertaining game.
Yeah, I actually watched the Dutch version from my computer because Verizon Fios decided to cut it out for me.
That's right. See, I was away, so I got to see it.
I got to watch the Dutch version. It was very interesting.
It was a great
Sky Network from London.
All right.
Yeah, over from London. So
I watched the Super Bowl that way one year. We were on a cruise ship, and we watched the European broadcast of the Super Bowl on a cruise ship.
It's different, let me tell you. It's really different.
Anyway.
What is your thoughts on the Cowboys, first of all? Are they a classic choke team?
Obviously.
Okay.
They have the potential to be the best team in the NFC.
Yep.
But they also have the tendency to choke every single time they get that opportunity.
Right.
Their running game is literally second to none.
Sure is.
DeMarco Murray's gonna be the leading rusher. I think he's 500 or 600 yards ahead of number 2.
Phenomenal season.
He had a phenomenal season. Des Bryant is a superior wide receiver, and Romo is a very, very good quarterback.
Yes.
So they absolutely have and the defense has picked it up this year. I mean, they absolutely have the chance to be the best team in the NFC, but they also play in the toughest division.
Sure do.
Well, I mean, the NFC West is pretty tough too, but they play in a very tough division, let's put it that way. And they are choke artists. They've shown that time and time again. And the choking comes not just on the field. Mm-hmm. I think Jason Garrett chokes. I think the coach chokes.
Okay.
And some of his decisions, to challenge, not to challenge, when to play this play, to go for it, not play for it. I think you've seen it several times. Not so much this year, but I think you've seen it in the past.
So is he on the hot seat, you think?
I think if they don't make the playoffs,
hot seat,
he's
goodbye.
Gone.
Yeah.
I think in fact, to be honest with you, if they don't win a playoff game,
gone.
He's gone.
Yeah.
Because you can't get rid of the quarterback.
Yeah.
They paid him $500 million or whatever it is. Who else you get rid of? It's got to be the coach. So
yes, absolutely.
So absolutely, if they don't win a playoff game, he's done.
I see the Cowboys coming through in this game. I do not see Mark Sanchez winning this game against.
That's if they had who's the regular starting quarterback? If they have Nick Foles,
I think there'd be competition.
I think because it's in Philly.
Yep.
I think with Nick Foles in Philly, I think the Eagles win the game. Without Nick Foles. Yeah, Mark Sanchez, again, talk about a choke artist. He's another choke artist, and he's
why I brought it up?
He's a bigger
choke artist.
I mean, he hasn't choked in the biggest situations like Romo has, but he's still a choke artist, and I don't think he has it as a quarterback.
Absolutely.
So I agree with you. I think the Cowboys probably win the game.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking the Cowboys do go about their business that way. I'm trying to think of other games that are noteworthy this week in the NFL or anything else. We obviously want to send our condolences to Cam Newton.
Yeah, that was
very scary to hear about that. I feel bad for the person that he sideswiped and flipped his car over 4 times.
Yeah, so obviously we don't know the details of what happened there. But,
I guess he has a back injury, kind of like Romo had.
Yeah, kind of a couple fractures in his back. Could miss a game or two, which would be sad because there's no chance the Panthers make the playoffs without Cam Newton. They only have a chance to make it with him. And it's interesting that some of the changes they made this year too, or the last couple of weeks, really letting Cam Newton be Cam Newton instead of trying to force Cam Newton to be Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
And it worked out for him great against
the game of the week, game of the season last week.
Yeah, exactly.
Against the Saints.
Against the Saints, who, by the way, have you ever seen anything more pathetic than the Saints this year?
Sean Payton's got to go.
I don't know what else to do. I mean, what have they lost 5 in a row or something like that? 4 of them at home. They lost 4 home games in a row.
Yep.
It's crazy, and it's crazy to think that
the legacy of Drew Brees is just going like this.
There's an unbelievably real possibility that every team in that division is going to be under 500 this year. And I mean, there's only 3 games left, and the winningest teams have 5 wins, so they're only going to be 500 at the most if they win out. And chances are that all those teams go 2-1.
I think Atlanta's going to get it.
You think Atlanta?
I
really?
think Atlanta's going to get it. And I'm kind of shocked to say that, but I think it's going to be Atlanta.
With the Cam Newton injury, Atlanta has the best team.
Yep.
Whether or not they can pull it together, I don't know. But Matt Ryan and Julio Jones and Steven Jackson and running back, they've got the best, certainly offense. Their defense is very suspect.
It is.
Actually, I tweeted during the game. Was it Monday night or Sunday night game?
Monday
I forget
game.
which one.
Yeah,
Monday night
they played Green Bay.
That played Green Bay. That first drive, I tweeted. Was the Atlanta defense even on the field?
Yeah.
I mean, it just seemed
like
it
might have been better without them on the field.
It looked like they were playing without pads on the practice field. Just boom, 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 boom. Just I mean, so the Atlanta defense,
division is so open that you got to have somebody.
Somebody's got somebody.
And it looks. I think Atlanta's still the team I'm looking at.
It's sad because obviously you have to have the division winner in the playoffs, but it means that one of those really good NFC West teams is not going to make the playoffs, and it could be Dallas in the NFC East.
Could be.
So Dallas, Philadelphia, Seattle. I'm trying to think of all the Rams. San Francisco.
Right.
One of these teams, a couple of these teams are not going to make the playoffs, and one of them is going to be because they have to take someone from the NFC South.
Exactly. Well, I guess that's all I have from football. I can't think of anything else.
I didn't include the Cardinals because I'm assuming the Cardinals are going to be in the playoffs. Sorry.
Yes, the Cardinals will be in the playoffs.
Cardinals are leading the Western Division right now.
And there's no face-off for tonight.
Oh, okay.
No face-off for tonight. So we're just going to wrap it up here. We had a lot to talk about with baseball, and we had a lot to talk about with the Patriots. But definitely stay tuned to see what the Red Sox do next, because your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah. Well, my wish for Christmas stays the same as it has. Yep. I want 2 pitchers.
You want 2
I don't care how they get them. I want 2 pitchers. I want a number 1 and a number 2.
Miley Cyrus, good for you? That's Wade Miley over into Diamondbacks.
Wade Miley, the Diamondbacks.
I never even heard of this guy
he
before
could be a number 2, I guess, but he's not a number 1.
Yeah.
I think Masterson would be fine. I would go with a Masterson signing as a number 2.
Okay.
Is Masterson as your number 1 and Buchholz is your number 2?
If Masterson is 1.
We'll
have Tobin Bridge jumpers.
Yeah, it's not going to be a good season. No.
Well, we do hope you have a great holiday until we see you next time, which will probably be in 2015.
Yes.
We will see you again. For Nick Face,
Kevin Vett.
We will see you again. Happy holidays to all, and to all a good night.